There's one stim combo in Grey Zone Warfare that lets you sprint across basically the entire map without ever running out of stamina. This stim is called strychnine, and it's one of the most broken mechanics in Grey Zone Warfare right now. There are some downsides that you have to watch out for, so today I'll be showing you all about this combo and how to maximise its effect in your games. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to show you just how insane strychnine actually is in-game. We'll see how far we can go on one sprint. This is genuinely my favourite stim in the entire game. It's so cracked, I love it so much, but let me show you first and foremost. So we're going to open up our strychnine, and we're going to run for as long as we can back to this point on the crossroads. Now you can see when it stops working in the top left because your arm stamina absolutely evaporates and the infinite stamina no longer is in effect. So that's the point at which we've got stuck. That's as far as we can go. So if we go back to the crossroads, which is where we started, we went pretty much straight, not quite. That gets us to 470 meters, which is a really long way. When you think of the context of the game, to be able to go that far in 1 minute without using any vehicles or helicopters or anything, it's pretty much the distance between one LZ and another, or maybe two distances for one cop to another. It's about a kilometer, so it gets you about halfway from one cop to the next, or between Titan and Cobra, for example. So what's surprising about this, and the reason why this came about in the first place, is because there's three ways to move, right? You've got the regular walk, which doesn't consume any stamina. You've got the normal run, which was what you used to have back in the day as the only way that you could go faster. And then you've also got the tactical sprint, which takes the enormous amount of stamina. But obviously when strychnine is blocking the stamina entirely, then you no longer need to worry about using the regular sprint, and you can use the uber quick tactical sprint, which is supposed to be penalised with very heavy stamina degeneration, but that doesn't happen in this case. So let's head back to pretty much where we stopped before. Now, as you can hear, the issue with my character right now is that he is hurt, and this is because we have heart damage. Now, there's two ways to get rid of this. You can either just use one of the regular surgical kits that you'd use to get rid of organ damage in Grey Zone Warfare, and that does take a while. You're basically stationary while that happens. Or alternatively, you can use another stim. So this is the second stim that we're going to use in the chain, and this one is called HPR3S. The effective part about this is that it lasts for 4 minutes and it regenerates up to 50% of injured organs at the cost of increased intoxication and pain. So what this is going to do is this is actually going to fix our heart. And interestingly, what this is also going to do is allow us to run multiple strychnines one after another. So if we right click on this and use this, you can just use it from the hotbar if you want to as well. And then we use another strychnine on top of that. You will see eventually that the heart damage that we've got goes away from the strychnine. We can also use two strychnines one after another, so don't worry about that too much. You can just use them, stack them back to back. The main problem you're going to have is the intoxication, but we'll talk about that in a second. As you can probably tell at this point, this is significantly faster going from one place to another than it is in any other method. And you can stack them one after another, but as you do, you're going to see this intoxication going up, and you see our guy doesn't have a very healthy tummy right now. So we've got to fix this some other way so that we can carry on doing this, otherwise we'll start getting weird effects on our screen and our guy will start vomiting. So what we've got here is moxifloxacin, and this is going to reduce our intoxication per charge by 25. So we're going to take one of these bad boys, and you'll see the intoxication start to disappear, and that means that we can then smash another strychnine. We're at 30, but now it's dropping quite quickly. We're going to smash another one of these guys, and we still have the HPR active, because remember it was 4 minutes, so you can technically have 4 strychnines one after another on a single HPR, which makes it relatively cost effective. Our stamina is starting to run out again, so when this sprint bar gets to 0, we'll pop one final strychnine, and we'll run the fourth one, and we'll just see how far we get. Right, and there you go, we are out of stamina. So we didn't go in a perfectly straight line, we meandered a little bit, but it's pretty much there, and we went 1,838 meters without really suffering any consequences. You can see my guy doesn't have any negative health effects except for some temporary stuff here. We could get rid of this intoxication again with the Moxiflox, so that's not really a big deal. And you can go a significant distance across the map in about 4 minutes, which is insane. If you need to get some LZs that you're not able to access because they're too far away, say you're all the way up at Crimson Shield, you need to get the ones down at Blue Lagoon and you only have one around here, Mike 2 for example, it'll probably take you 10 minutes at most to go from Mike 2 all the way to Tiger Bay, which is absolutely insane. And these stims don't cost that much really either, so there's not much disadvantage to taking them with you. Now, I have also tested what happens when you abuse the maximum out of this, and fortunately, it doesn't seem like you can kill your PMC with heart issues or anything like that. I really did try to abuse my PMC as much as possible in a test, and the worst you can do is make him really, really sick. So nothing that is unrecoverable, and you don't just suddenly die if you use 2 of them back to back, for example. You can keep using them, and your intoxication keeps going up, and eventually you will get tunnel vision, and it will make it quite hard to play, but your PMC isn't just going to collapse from a cardiac arrest if you abuse these too much, thankfully. One place that strychnine can be especially insane is that if you are getting into some close range PvP. A long extended battle, it's not going to help that much unless you use a lot of them over and over again. But if you think you're going to be in combat in and out under 1 minute, especially around buildings, in cops or whatever, you can run around with infinite sprint for that minute. And you do have to remember that once the effect disappears, your arm stamina will go down to 0. So this does make it quite hard to fight, but so long as you are looking after the time correctly, then you should be alright, and gives you a massive advantage while the stim is active. Okay, so next let's have a look at where you actually get these from and whether it's cost effective to make this work. So where this starts is at Lab Rat level 3, because this is where you get access to the strychnine directly. You don't have to find them in the world anymore. So it's not that bad to get Lab Rat level 3, nowhere near as bad as getting level 4, but it is still going to take a little bit of time in game. Now these only cost $600, which really isn't that much if you ask me. And these things can go inside this, the quick release first aid kit. So if you've got one of these QRFs, then you can buy strychnines and you can stick them straight in. So if you go and buy a whole bunch of these guys, then you can put them in there, and that gives you 6 slots that you can use for strychnine. It's basically 3 into 1. You can put those into your pouch, and you can have them here in case you need to run. Lab Rat level 3 also sells a few of the other stims that are useful for this. We talked about the HPR already, which is the one that fixes your organs, but there are 2 other stims as well, which is the EPO and also the Ori. Now in terms of importance, I would say that the Ori is probably the least important. This is the one that regenerates up to 50% of damaged bones, so it's a little bit like HPR, but for bones rather than organs. Bones in Grey Zone Warfare just don't matter as much. Usually you're having those issues if you've jumped down from something and you've fallen too far, rather than necessarily being in combat, but could potentially be useful. You've also got the EPO. This one increases blood regeneration at the cost of intoxication and hydration, drain, and liver damage, which again can be fixed with the HPR, interestingly. And this one can offset the bleeds that you get in an actual fight. So you could stab one of these in to try and like fix a bleed over time, but I don't really see the point of doing that when you've got one of these small hemostatic syringes at Lab Rat level 3, and this has a usage speed of 2, and this just fixes your bleeds instantly. This is way, way better than using any tourniquets. So the reason why you might want to use EPO is just before you go into an actual battle, and then that's going to offset any bleeds that you do get while you're fighting, because you don't want to have to be like using it while you're in combat. So it's something that you might want to use in preparation. So the main combination we've got then is the HPR and the strychnine. HPR covers about 4 strychnine uses, so even if you did use 4 of these, that's only going to be $2,400, which, you know, one relatively basic watch can cover the cost of that, and the HPR, which costs about $1,000. So we're looking at somewhere around $3K to run this sort of combination where you can run for 2 kilometers in one go, which is nothing really compared to Grey Zone's economy. Lab Rat level 4 adds a couple of other stims. You actually have the V2 versions of the Ori, the HPR, and the EPO, which I don't think it necessarily something that you need to be using. The EPO is probably the best of these because this greatly increases the blood regeneration, which is kind of the thing you actually want, whereas the HPR V2 recovers 65% of injured organs rather than 50%, and I'm not sure if that 15% is really make or break. Ori, as we said, was already kind of not a huge priority, and this is 65% of damaged bones rather than 50%, so again, it doesn't really feel that much more useful. But they are quite a lot more limited when it comes to the cases. So at Lab Rat level 4, you can see we get this thing, the Ripaway EMT pouch, which is like a good version of the QRF, because this guy has got 9 slots rather than the QRF with only 6. But you also get the injector case as well, which has 9 slots in it. Now this is what makes the V2s kind of odd, is that the V2 stims, the EPO, the Ori, and the HPR can only go into the injector's case. They're not allowed in the QRF or in the Ripaway EMT pouch, whereas the HPR, for example, can go into either of them. Ori and EPO the same, and strychnine can go into any of them as well, which is kind of interesting. The hemostatic syringes can go into either of these two, the EMT and the Ripaway, but not into the injector's case. So later on, maybe you want to be thinking about taking the injector's case if you're using the V2 versions of the stims, which are also a little bit more expensive, but in my opinion, you could probably just get away with the Ripaway EMT pouches and use the version 1s. There is one extra stim here, which is the Detox. This acts a little bit like those pills that we had to get rid of the intoxication. You don't really need to use this. You don't need to get rid of intoxication instantaneously, because the worst case scenario is you're maybe going to be sick a little bit or something. So long as you manage it in advance, then you shouldn't really need to use this, in my opinion. So as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.